Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its continuing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before.
Good day, everybody. Welcome to the Multiverse of Entertainment podcast. I am James. Thank you for tuning in today. We made it. We are here, episode 10, a milestone episode. Woo! Great. Thank you very much for tuning in. And today we are boldly going where no man or no one has gone before, as we dive into one of the most popular TV franchises of all time, and we take a dive into the 24th century. That's right, we're going to go 300 years into the future of what Gene Roddenberry thought would be the future of humanity. We are talking Star Trek: The Next Generation, and this is season 1. As you can tell by the opening, this is going to be a fun one. This is really going to be strolling down memory lane as much as I can from what I remember. I will admit I did go on to Netflix and have a Scooby around some of the episodes just to get like a general idea of what the season was. I'm not going to go through each episode verbatim. I'm just doing a general overview, and then towards the end of the episode, I'm going to give like my top 5. So that's the idea of this episode. And we'll just talk about what the season was, how it came to be, and, just general overview, which I'm really looking forward to because there's a lot of interesting stuff here. But without further ado, guys, I'll just crack on with the episode, and we are going to be we're going to be talking about Star Trek: The Next Generation, Season 1, which first aired on CBS in the United States on September 28th, 1987. Wow. Let's go. Let's have a listen. So, Star Trek: The Next Generation. This is probably one of the best Star Trek TV shows out there when it comes to drama and action. This show really delivered, and with a lot of scrutiny as well, because there hadn't been a Star Trek TV show since the late 1960s, where the original series got cancelled in 1968, I think. But between then and when Star Trek: The Next Generation first came up, you had the Star Trek animated series, and up to that point, you had 4 Star Trek films. I don't think Star Trek 5 had come out yet. I think Star Trek 5 came out in 88. So just after the first season had finished, Star Trek 5 had come out. And when it came to like a Star Trek series, a lot of TV franchises weren't not a lot of TV franchises, a lot of TV channels or stations didn't really like Star Trek. They didn't, when the first season, when the original series first came out, a lot of executives thought this show wasn't going to work. This sounds stupid. Even though they were doing a lot of sci-fi flicks during that time, Star Trek was something different, something unique, and it was brought over by one man's vision of what humanity would be like. But obviously, the cancellation of Star Trek, the original series, didn't prompt a new series until Paramount, pretty much until like Paramount Pictures saw the success and the popularity of the films. Primarily, thank you to Star Wars that helped Star Trek become a movie franchise as well as a TV franchise. And after the success of the first 4 films, you got, the executives were like, maybe we should start thinking about making a TV show. Now, Gene Roddenberry, who is the creator of Star Trek, he was dead against having another TV show come to light after the first incarnation of the original series was turned down massively by everyone. And there was a lot of toing and froing, a lot of back and forth to say we need to like bring this TV show. Because at that point, I think at this point, 17 years had passed when the original series was cancelled. And by the time they got the rights and were ready to make this series, it had been probably, 20 years? Yeah, 66 was the first, and then 86, the show got approved. And the casting of the show was pretty damn good, to say the least. It's lasted, the Next Generation has pretty much lasted from, till now with, like, the Picard TV show and just 35 years of what that show represents. The Star Trek Next Generation, I grew up with Star Trek Next Generation. It was my first Star Trek show that I watched as a kid. Obviously, you had the reruns of like the original series, and in between the Next Generation, you had DS9 come out as well, which we will talk about DS9 and we will talk about the original series as well at some point. But with Star Trek now firmly in the sights of the TV producers, they were thinking, right, we need to make a show different from what the original series was. How can we do this? So they obviously went, had pretty much the top designers come up with new ships, new Federation ships, new enemy ships, and also they integrated some of the old ships into the series as well, as you will see through like the first episode where you see the original Excelsior class ship in one of the scenes, and through pretty much throughout, really, it was kind of like the shout out to what the old series and movies were like to what the new generation, the Next Generation was going to be based on. So after talking, designing, coming up with where the story was going to be based and what we were going to tell, so they obviously came up with, right, let's go to the 24th century, almost 100 years after Kirk, Spock, and all those guys, the original series cast, and tell a new story with a brand new crew and a brand new ship. Now, obviously, they wanted to keep the trend going as the Enterprise with as the main character. People, when it comes to Star Trek, people say, the ship is, it's a ship. It's not this, it's not that. Well, technically, the ship is actually a character. Why, hence why people have such fascination and love for each ship that is made or is brought into a show, a movie. Because I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw the Enterprise D, on our TV screens. And mind you, I was born in 1990, so the reruns of the first two seasons, while the third season was underway. I fell in love with the Enterprise D almost immediately. You know, the first sight of that ship, which is completely different to what we've seen previously. So beautiful, so gorgeous, and lit up like a Christmas tree. You can see all the fine details on the ship as well. Obviously, further along, you know, the technology for CGI and special effects were a lot different compared to now, because there's a lot even more detail on the ships that we see today in modern Star Trek shows, including like Strange New Worlds, Discovery, Picard, and hopefully, if they make this damn new show, Star Trek Legacy, which will be class. You can see all the finer details on the ship, which I love. I love those little intricate details. Obviously, the bridge is different of the Enterprise D. It's more of it's more of a cruise liner than like the ships that we've experienced before, where there was no comfortable comfortable settings. There was no families. That was another thing. The Enterprise could hold over 1,000 crew members, and they had families on the ship as well. So it was pretty much like an interstellar cruise liner, you know. So they come up with the ship. They've got the ship. They've got the storylines. We've got the characters. Now we need the actors to play with it, and the array of characters that we have was perfect. You know, absolutely perfect. You got Sir Patrick Stewart, Jonathan Frakes, LeVar Burton, Denise Crosby, Michael Dorn, Gates McFadden, Miranda Spurts. I can never say her name right, so somebody's gonna shout at me with that. Brent Spiner as well, one of my favorite actors, and very, very young Will Wheaton as well. For those of you who are Big Bang Theory fans, this was like his one of his major pushes as a kid, because before this he did oh god, what's it called? Stand By Me, you know? Obviously you had reoccurring actors as well. Majel Barrett, who played Council Troy's mother, and who is the voice of the computer as well throughout the series and the movies. And also is Gene Roddenberry's wife, and she originally was in Star Trek the original series pilot episode as number 1. Fun fact for those. You've also got let's start off with John DeLarco, who plays Hugh as we get on, who is a Borg, which we'll get to them later on. And obviously, I know I'm skipping ahead here, but you got Colin Meaney, who is Chief O'Brien. He's the first appearance for him before he goes off to the S9. He has a few appearances here, there, and everywhere through the show as well. And probably another favorite actor of mine who deserves a shout out is John Delancey, who plays Q, who is one of my favorite characters. I think a lot of people's favorite characters of all time during that show. So good. So you've got the casting here. You've got a lot of you've got a lot of really, really good castings. Casting is set. Now they filmed it and decided, let's put it out there in September of 1987. And it started off really. The first episode is a 2-parter episode, but I think they released it as a 2-parter, or they released it as one big episode. if you see it on Netflix now, it's just one big episode. If you had the old VHS tapes, the first episode, Encounter of Farpoint, the name of it was one big show. It was one big episode as well. From the get-go, the show received positive reviews from Star Trek fans. Everyone was really, really happy of what the show brought, and by the end, the TV ratings for season 1 was between the fall of 87 to the spring of 88. The average ratings was 8.5 million views for the first season of Star Trek: The Next Generation, which was crazy, which was really, really, really good. Really good for this first pilot. I don't think Star Trek, the original series, had that much, but TV was very wasn't around a lot as it is today. So they go off of so obviously season 1 is like the established season of the show. You get to see the characters for the first time, like the main characters for the first time. You get to see different species that we haven't seen before. We get some origin stuff for Data, who is an android played by Brent Spiner. Having his brother there, getting his father. You get the crystalline entity in there as well. Q medals around. It's so good, and you also get like little bits and pieces of like original characters as well, which I've decided by the end of this episode, before I do my outro, there is a really awesome scene in episode 1 where Data is escorting an admiral to a shuttle, and the admiral turns out to be Leonard McCoy, who is at this point in life 137 years old. And they have this really cool interaction, which it's kind of like a passing of the torch kind of thing, but it's kind of like this is how McCoy is reacted to Data, sort of similar to the way he would respond to Spock, but it's a bit of a different way. So it's a really fun series. A lot of action, a lot of drama. I don't want to go through each episode because this podcast will take too fucking long, and I don't really want to do that. But I will be going through. You probably heard it through my intro. I'm gonna go through like my top 5 episodes, which I would say, if somebody asks me which 5 episodes would you recommend to watch in season 1, I would say these. So I'll get to that in a bit. What else? So the music in this is really, really good. I think the composers, they had so many different composers. Obviously, the theme song is a shortened version of the theme from the movies, where we hear this theme is where we hear from the motion picture dubbed down and added a few details to make it more unique for this show. That was, the original theme was composed by Jerry Goldsmith, one of my favorite composers. And for the TV shows, you got Dennis McCarthy and Jay Chataway and Ron Johnson as well. Ron Jones, sorry, my bad. Who composed the series. I think season 1, I think it was all Dennis McCartney, I think. I'm not too sure. Yeah, I'm not too sure. Did he do this first season? I'll find out. Somebody will ask me. I'll find out. Don't worry about it. Obviously, Gene Roddenberry was the exclusive producer, so you foresee everything through it. He pretty much foreseen the first 4 seasons, really, before he sadly passed away in 91. So the music was there. You had, what I find in like the first 2 seasons is that they played a lot of decent music during the episodes, where in later seasons there was hardly to no music except for certain points in the show, which I kind of it's kind of good to have in the first, which is kind of nice to have. But obviously, you could tell that the music the music wasn't going to be ideal through the later episodes as we get through that. What else? What else we? What else we read? Because I wrote down a shit ton of notes in here. We've done the Enterprise. Oh yeah, this was the first. Sorry, there was a lot of notes. I got a lot of notes to go through. This also was the first time we got to see a ship to split in two. Obviously, there's in the first episode, there's a massive scene where the Enterprise D splits apart, so the saucer and the star drive separate for the first time. No other ships could do that. Well, as far as we were aware at the time, no other ships could do that, and it was and it's what made the Enterprise D so unique. Is that if the ship was ever in danger, they would put all the families on like the saucer bit, the saucer section of the ship, and then they would get that the hell out of there. So then they would just use the star drive as like the battle ship, basically. Which makes sense. I mean, you could probably put another star drive section on that saucer section, and you could sacrifice the star drive for pretty much anything. Because if that blows, at least you still got half a ship to do, right? Shout out to anyone who gets the references in that. Everybody knows. Right, let me take a stick of water here. Oh, lovely. And the uniqueness of the show as well, the iconic opening, the first look at the ship. It's spot on. I love it. I love the show. I love the series. It holds a dear place in my heart, and it holds a place in a lot of people who grew up in like pretty much the late 80s, early 90s living with this show. And I never get bored of it. Never ever get bored of it. Right. Let's take a pause, play some music, and then we'll talk about my top 5 because I feel like I've rambled enough about the show's origins already. So let's listen to some music, and then we'll get back into the top 5, which I think are the top 5 episodes.
Begin countdown. Mark.
Starship separation. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh wait, I forgot about the sound effects as well. It doesn't matter. The sound effects in the show is really, really good as well. Add some elements of like the new sound effects with like the old ones as well. Right. So top 5 episodes. So this is where I consider these are like these episodes are like top tier, and would automatically go right. If you want to start watching the series, obviously go through each episode, but these are the major ones you need to look out for, in my opinion. So we'll start with number 5. Obviously, Encounter at Farpoint is number 5 for me. This is the first episode / second episode where we get introduced to the crew. The Enterprise, we get introduced to Q as they try and go to their first mission at Farpoint. Even pick up some of the crew members. We get to see Commander Riker for the first time. We get to see the holodeck for the first time. That was something that's really unique about the show. And we also as well see that early relationship starting between Picard and Beverly, because they've got a history as well. So there's a lot of sub stories with a lot of characters within the first episode, which get explained through obviously later episodes, shows, movies, and even the modern shows today. Episode 4, which number 4, in which I believe this should have been the last episode of the season and then go off into season 2, is The Skin of Evil, where, spoiler alert, the ship is sent a distress call by Counselor Troy. She's crash landed on a barren planet, and she needs help. The crew are injured, and it's dire. However, as they're going to rescue, they realize this black ooze or black sludge keeps moving in their direction, and there's a creature buried inside it. And the creature is very hostile. Turns out to be the last of his species. Is very hostile to like not only humans but any humanoid that it deems. We obviously get again, spoiler alert, the death of Tasha Yar, which again for me raises the question why this episode the last episode of the season. And Will Riker gets sucked in, and you have this tremendous scene with Picard and this. I can't remember what the sludge's name. Somebody will tell me in the comments. They have this dramatic scene towards the end where he's trying to keep his focus down for the crew to get them out, for the Enterprise to get the crew out, and then go off and leave it on its own. And you have the dramatic, the very sad and very cool memorial service as well for Tasha Yar, which is really, really cool. Episode 3. Number 3 is The Last Outpost. This is the episode where we get to see the Ferengi for the first time. And the first Ferengi, obviously played by I'm gonna lose his name now. Ahmed Shariman. Ahmed Shariman. I really bad names, but he was like the first Ferengi, and he obviously played Quark in DS9 as well. So they get stuck on a planet, and there's this entity which is holding the two ships together, draining the power of each ship. So not only the ship and the crews are in danger, Riker, the away team, and the Ferengi are trying to convince this entity to let the ships go and what they can decide. Episode number 2, in my opinion, is The Naked Now. The Naked Now in The Next Generation is the 3rd episode, and it's kind of like a throwback to one of the episodes, I think with a similar name, from the original series, where they've found this message from the ship. Everybody's been sucked out of an escape hatch. Everybody's dead, but then they realize there's this like virus that's been transmitted to person, and is making people either very erratic or very stupid or very horny. Pretty much very horny. And then there's this funny scene where Tasha Yar is affected, and she pretty much sleeps with Data, which is it's a funny episode. It's a serious episode. It's not so much a serious episode, but it's a funny episode as well. So definitely go check that out. That's why it's my number 2. And then number 1 is the battle where the Ferengi are showing this peace offering and have brought a ship from Picard's past, which is the Stargazer, which is Picard's old ship, where Picard thought the ship had been destroyed in an earlier incident during a battle. I can't remember what the battle's called. It's really annoying me. I watched it the other day. God's sake. But it turns out that the Ferengi involved that brought the ship initially has like this revenge and has these like mind control devices where he amplifies it every time and it causes Picard to have headaches and eventually hallucinates and ends up in this like battle with the Enterprise. However, it stopped immediately because they realized Picard is going to use this maneuver that he used during that battle many, many years ago called the Picard maneuver, and they stop him immediately. And Riker convinces him to destroy the sphere that is mind controlling him, and everybody's here, blows and whistles, and the Ferengi are like, yeah, we've taken this guy into custody now because he shouldn't be doing this bad business for us, which is great. Yeah, a few honorable mentions as well, I think. For me, I think a few honorable mentions when it comes to the episodes. Hidden Q is a good one. The Big Goodbye is a good one as well. Data Law is also another good one, where that's the first episode of meeting Law as well. Is that another one? Oh, When No One Has Gone Before as well is another great one. That's where, they're trying to experiment on the warp drive, and the ship is going to like warp 10, but it's not actually moving from 1.5. And they realize that one of the alien that's come on is a time traveler, which kind of sets Wesley's destiny through later seasons. It's pretty awesome. Really, really good series. There's a lot of good episodes there, but those are my top 5. But the top 5 episodes that I recommend are Encounter, Farpoint, Skin of Evil, The Last Outpost, The Naked Now, and The Battle. There's a lot of those in there, but pretty simple to discover. Right, I think that's it for the episode. Now, let me play this scene between McCoy and Data, and then we'll do the outro and we get out to it.
Have you got some reason you want my atoms scattered all over space, boy?
No, sir. But at your age, sir, I thought you shouldn't have to put up with the time and trouble of a shuttlecraft.
Hold it right there, boy.
Sir?
What about my age?
Sorry, sir. If that subject troubles you.
Troubles me? What's so damn troublesome about not having died? How old do you think I am anyway?
137 years, Admiral, according to Starfleet records.
Explain how you remember that so exactly.
I remember every fact I'm exposed to, sir.
I don't see no points on your ears, boy. But you sound like a Vulcan.
No, sir. I'm an android.
Almost as bad.
I thought it was generally accepted, sir, that Vulcans are an advanced and most honorable race.
They are. And damn annoying at times.
Yes, sir.
Well, this is a new ship, but she's got the right name. Now, you remember that, you hear?
I will, sir.
You treat her like a lady, and she'll always bring you home.
And that's it, everybody. That was episode 10, Star Trek The Next Generation Season 1. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Probably not one of my best episodes. It's really, really tough talking about these TV shows where you talk about the entire season and trying to go through it. So I'm trying to do as much as I can through memory, but also try to do a bit of research as well. But if you've enjoyed it, please continue listening to us. Listen to us on Spotify. Continue to listen to us on Spotify. Follow us on Spotify. We are now also on Google Podcast and Apple Podcast and Amazon Prime Music as well. So please go and check us out all in there. Leave us a review as well. Please do that, the reviews. give us a 5-star, please, if you can. Do appreciate it. Or if you dislike it, just let us know. Either way. You can follow us as well on YouTube as well at the Multiverse of Entertainment Podcast on YouTube. You can follow us on Instagram at the Multiverse of Entertainment Pod and on TikTok as well at MoPod. Go and check us out all there. Follow us on our social medias. Follow us on all our audio settings as well. We do appreciate that. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we'll be back next week with a classic movie, and probably one of the first horror films I've done so far on this podcast. We're going to be, it's considered a horror film anyway. We're going to be talking about the Ridley Scott movie of Alien. This is going to be a fun episode. I'm really, really looking forward to it. Do appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Keep listening, keep following, keep watching TV shows, keep watching movies, stay nerdy, and I'll catch you next week. Have a good one, guys.